Hi everyone, welcome to I Am a Recruiter. I'm your host Prafula Deori. I Am a Recruiter is a community created by and for TA professionals. Our vision is to build a leading global community for TA professionals like you and me. And our mission is to help 100K TA professionals to grow from a traditional recruiter to a trusted talent advisor. And if you find our content useful, you can please support us by liking, subscribing, sharing, and commenting our channel. And today we have a very special guest, Raj, in our podcast. We are thrilled to have someone like him who is not only experienced in tech world from inside out, but he is also actively working to make recruitment process much smoother for everyone. Raj's journey is really inspiring. From the coding his way through college and building a tool where thousands of students are using today, and he's trying to solve some of the real challenges of a recruiter as well. So let's deep dive and hear more about Raj's unique insight, his passion, what he's trying to solve. Welcome, Raj, to I Am Recruiter podcast.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks a lot, Prafula, for inviting me. Glad to be here. I'm also one of your early members of the community, so have seen it grow over the months, and yeah, would love to share my insights about the industry from where I come and so on. A quick introduction. I am a software engineer by profession. I graduated from IIIT Hyderabad. Post that, I worked with Browser Stack for around three and a half years and then moved to Harness. Harness also, in both the organizations, I was leading tech teams. And yeah, after that, I left for Reczee. And in Reczee, we are building an ecosystem of recruitment products which streamlines the recruitment activities, keeping in focus the efficiency of the entire recruitment cycle, basically, right? Let me know how I can help here.
Sure, sure. Thank you for a quick introduction, Raj. So, Raj, definitely everyone has a different journey. So, your journey seems very interesting, right? So, you have made an interesting transition from a core techie to handling various aspects of business. Can you share us some of the challenges and lesson learned during this journey, and how did your technical background have helped you in building this current organization of yours?
No, definitely. I think thanks a lot for asking that question. Not a lot of people ask that in recent times. But then, yeah, how it helped is definitely like if you're building any product, right, you need software engineers to build those products. Of course, there's AI and other things which helps you build some bits and pieces of it, but not an entire sort of product, right? So, and of course, as you know, software engineer salaries are decently high for you to pay at a stage where, let's say, if you're not a techie, you would probably have to hire someone on a contract or an internship or something like that, right? So that was the biggest advantage, that I was able to build the product without any external sort of support. Still, till date, almost 80-90% of the code I still write code there. But yeah, that is one of the advantages. And in terms of the lessons, I think there's so many lessons in entrepreneurship. I would really recommend a lot of people to try it out once, even if not build their own startups, at least work at a startup which is very early stage, right? Let's say 10, 20 employees, 30 employees kind of thing, which helps you understand the breadth of things, right? Let's say when I was working with both of these organizations, the software engineer's view is very myopic, right? You are given a task or a feature or a bug that you are trying to solve, and you just work on that. But what is the bigger impact on the business out of it, right? So that is usually not exposed to the software engineers or in any function for that matter, right? Let's say you are working with a recruiter, right? So you should ideally know the complete business, what your contributions are going to sort of lead to, and what are the business impacts on, let's say, if you hire someone in 30 days versus hire someone in 60 days, what is the business impact and so on. So all of these things sort of make much more sense when you start on your own. There's no one else to look after other things, so you have to basically figure out that, okay, how to hire, how to sort of deal with finances, how to market your product, how to do sales, how to do pitches, when to reach out, whom to reach out, so on and so forth, right? So In terms of the lessons, yeah, I think these are some of the things which I sort of gathered over the last 2 years. But yeah, it has been a great journey overall, and the market in general in recruitment is something which I'm very passionate about, because like there's so many inefficiencies, right? It's not like a function which is like completely sorted, right? So there's so many problem statements to tackle, and everyone is tackling it with a different opinion in mind. And yeah, that's a bit about my experience there.
So, thank you for sharing that. Like, I have one question related to your answer, right? So there are so many problem in recruitment, right? Even there are so many problem outside of recruitment as well. So what
Yeah.
have made you to solve these problems specifically in recruitment industry?
Yeah, I think I don't have a very good answer for that, primarily because I'm a techie, right? So I think of problem statements as if something is inefficient, I like to sort of automate it, like to sort of reduce time there and so on. So I'll give you one example. The tool that you're mentioning, its name is StopStock. So I built that in third year of my college. So that time, what used to
Okay.
happen is there are these coding websites, right? That CodeChef, CodeForces, HackerEarth, HackerRank, and so on. So in those days when we were preparing for our placements, we used to check our friends' progress. That okay, how are they solving the problems? How many problems are they solving? Which websites are they solving on, and so on, right? So usually you would remember your friends' handles and you will go to their website profiles and then see all of those things. So I built a platform to just automate all of this and show it in a nice dashboard that it gives you analytics that okay, this person has solved 100 problems, these many easy, these many hard, these many medium, and so on and so forth. So I built that as a automation to that full thing, and then eventually now it has over 120,000 users with almost zero marketing. Like since last 3-4 years I have not been marketing anything at all, and a lot of colleges are now using that as a placement metric, that if you have this much score on StopStock. I didn't even know until people from a particular college started signing up in a day. Like there were like 1,000 notifications to me that 1,000 people signed up. And like what happened? So I think one of the, like it did overlap with recruitment in general. So I feel since then I have been slightly more inclined. And of course, from Browser Stack and Harness also, I was very closely involved in the recruitment activities, like hiring drives and like planning the logistics of it, trying to make sure that it's more efficient, trying to interview people and so on and so forth. So since then, I think I was very inclined, and uh, I saw a lot of things being done manually there. So after that, basically, when I left my job, I found a lot more problems than just that. So yeah, I think the space is in general very interesting because the problems are not solved, right? If the problems were already solved, then you would be thinking that okay, let's try to find different space and then work on it. But yeah, that is the core reason why I started in the space. And yeah, as I said, after leaving my job, I found a lot more problems, and we started tackling a lot more sort of problems with the solutions that we built.
I can definitely relate, like the passion of your coding and how you have solved those problems from your college days and how you are able to relate to recruitment now. I can definitely find those dots and able to connect those dots. Okay, so can you also give little bit background about yourself, like where you were born and brought up, right? And what about your education background? How were you as a student earlier, right? And
Yeah.
definitely IIT, triple ITs are not easy to crack as well, right? So how did you prepare those exams as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. Yeah, I was born and brought up in Gandhinagar, Gujarat. So till 12th, I was studying there, and then after that, Triple IT Hyderabad was in Hyderabad. So studied there for 4 years. Post which I moved to Mumbai for Brother Stack, and then Harness was remote in the COVID time, but yeah, it's in Bangalore there. So that's the overall journey. In terms of how I was as a student, I was decently studious. I would not say a lot more, but I did used to top in my classes, and I was a studious person because my father used to be a teacher in the school. So there was not a lot of scope to sort of go outside of studies. But yeah, that helped for sure. And yeah, IIT and other things, I did go to a coaching where it was a local sort of coaching center. But yeah, it was a interesting journey, high stress situations, and getting to that because school studies are completely different from what is
Yes.
asked in these
Yes.
entrance exams, right? So. But yeah, both of those things helped, and yeah, hard work is the only thing that you have in those cases. Of course, a lot of times luck also matters there, but then yeah, there's no sort of alternative to it that you have to sort of do the school work also. You have to do the entrance exam things also, right? So yeah, that was a bit about my journey there.
Great, great. Thank you so much. So, the reason why I asked you this question was because I was kind of an average student throughout my journey as a student, right? And when I hear about people, I try to understand, like, because for me, my parents were like, again, like, they were just like 12, and my mom was 12 past. She was from a village, and my dad was, he was also from a village, and he was just done some diploma, and he got into a job and all. And from there, like, it was never much focus on studies throughout my, and that might be one of the reason why I was kind of a average. So I always, when I hear people that they are very good with study, I try to connect the dots and try to understand more. And yeah, even in, I did my engineering, so I was a very average student there as well, because engineering was not my choice at the time, but my parents wanted me to become an
Yeah,
engineer that back those days.
correct,
And
correct, correct.
even somehow I gave the entrance exam and all, but somehow I cleared the AIEEE exam, but due to certain issue during the counseling, I was not able to go, and some things happened back
But
then.
you reached a very good place, right? Now you are in hindsight, you feel that okay, we should have worked, but then eventually everyone figures out their own path, right? So
Yes,
that's more
yes,
important.
I totally agree. I totally agree that everyone have their own journey, right? They should focus on their strength, where they want to move and all those things. And post engineering, I when I understood what is my core strength, then I was trying to channelize my strength accordingly. And
Correct,
today I'm quite happy where I am today. And again, like, along with my job, like, I am trying to build a community, which I am very
correct,
passionate about, helping the recruiters and all, upskilling them and all. So yeah,
correct.
quite an interesting journey though. One question what I have is, like, we all have watched this series Kota Factory, where it showcased like how stressful the student's life can be during 12, 11, and 12 for the preparation and all. Is it
Correct.
real, or is it too much
Yeah,
of hype?
I'm not sure about the quota things. I'm assuming that it might be as real there. At least in my coaching center, it wasn't as stressful. But then, of course, as you see your peers working harder, you will probably see them and probably work even harder, right? But then, I think maybe Quota Factory slightly has different. I've seen their first season. I think I don't remember the exact storyline and things, but then in general. There are different kinds of people, right? Some people are self-motivated and they want to do it.
Yeah,
Some people are your parents and the teachers are forcing you to do it. Some people are, I don't care. I'm just here to be part of this so that since everybody's doing, I'm also doing, right? So everybody has a different journey there. But then, yeah, I'm sure in where you have a lot of peers, not just in your coaching institute, the entire city is sort of preparing for JEE. I am assuming it might be slightly stressful. But yeah, as I said, everyone figures out their journey eventually. So probably do work hard, but don't stress enough to actually
yes,
get to
yes,
that stage.
yes. Agree. Great. So moving to the next question. So what are some of the biggest inefficiency you see in the current recruitment landscape, and how is Reczee addressing those challenges?
Correct. Yeah, I think, as I said, right, there are multiple problems in the recruitment industry. One is, of course, the tools are fragmented. So there's ATS, there's assessment platforms, there's interview service platform, there's sourcing platforms, so on and so forth, right? And all of these don't integrate with each other. Everybody wants to
Yeah,
keep their data with their own. systems, right? Not all of the systems are having APIs with external systems and other things. So what happens with this is, and of course, these are recruitment products. Even without that, recruiters always use Google Forms, Google Sheets. They'll probably have their own local folder of resumes, and then they'll send on WhatsApp and email and so on and so forth. Right? So it's just overall a fragmented tool chain that a recruiter has to work on a specific day. Right? One is this problem. Another is I feel very strongly feel I might be wrong here. A lot of recruiters might take offense on this, but then in general, uh, recruiters themselves don't. I'm not generalizing, but then a lot of recruiters don't want to on their own. They don't want to upskill, right? On their own, they should feel that need to actually. Okay, this is not my work. I should do something else, right? Yesterday only, I think we both were commenting on a post, right, where a TA coordinator. There was a post around TA coordinator, right? So I feel a TA coordinator's role is not something that is a very high intensity job, right? It's like anybody can do it. If you hire that's what a lot of companies are now doing, right? Since the market is bad, a lot of companies are hiring like TA interns. A lot of companies are hiring TA on a contract role, right? So that is the exact thing that you want to optimize for, that you don't want to keep doing very mundane task, right? If not a tool, another person will come and replace you, right? Tool should ideally come and replace you, but then let's say an intern comes and replaces you, that means you are not doing something that was meaningful to the business, right? Or you are replaceable very easily, basically, right? So that is another problem. The third problem, I think, is in general on a broader perspective. Leadership does not want to invest in optimization of recruitment function. Let's say I'm selling a sales tool, right? Let's say I'm selling a CRM. So there is a direct ROI that I can say that, okay, if you implement our sales tool, there would be like 10% or 20% of your sales increase, or 10% your productivity would increase. But if someone goes and pitches a recruitment product which is going to solve some of the productivity issues of recruiters, they would still be very sort of, okay, it's okay, we'll manage with our spreadsheets, it's okay, we'll manage with our whatever Google Forms and other things, right? So that is one thing in general at a broader scale, how the organizations are also very resistant to change, right? And of course, there might be budget constraints, there might be constraints on the recruiters themselves adopting these tools and so on, right? So these are some of the problems. And in general, in terms of more tactical problems, as I said, since they are using these many tools, a lot of people who are not using an ATS, for example, they would get a job description from the hiring manager. They would create a Google form with some custom questions. They'd have spreadsheets. Out of that spreadsheets, they'll find the 10 candidates. They'll send it to hiring manager on an email. Then hiring manager would say, okay, 3 or 4 are good. Then they'll go to calendar, schedule these slots. Then after scheduling also, let's say a panel wants to fill feedback. So they don't have a central system. They don't have a spreadsheet also. Probably, let's say they have a spreadsheet. Then what happens is everybody can see everybody's evaluation. So you don't know if there's bias that is creeping into the entire system, right? And that is if the panel is actually filling the feedback. If not, recruiter is running behind them and finding that, okay, please fill feedback. Please give some output. Please give some email or like one line that, okay, should we go ahead with the next round or not, right? So like it's just a chaotic environment, right? And surprising to me, a lot of recruiters think that this is my job. This is, I'm telling you, after doing 150 calls with recruiters think कि अरे ये तो मेरा job है, this is my job, if I don't do this, who would do this, right? Which is not correct, right? In a way, recruiters should push back that if panel is not filling, go to the hiring manager saying that they are not filling the feedback. I want it in a centralized place, right? Same with hiring managers, right? A lot of recruiters say that hiring managers don't want to log into the ATS. Like, why? They can log into Jira, they can log into Gmail, they can log into n number of other tools. Why not an ATS? Because you are a stakeholder of the recruitment process, right? So why not log in an ATS and fill the feedback or screening decision there, or mark a screening decision there? But then recruiters would do their work also. Then, so the idea here is that recruiter is doing so many things when they shouldn't be. They should be pushing back, but then they don't have enough power to actually push back on this, and they'll think, okay, this is our job, and so, right? I'm not generalizing. I have heard these things. That's why I'm telling you these. But yeah, it's just a lot of mess right now. I like to say this word. And then in general, we are trying to solve this by creating an ecosystem of products, and ATS is one of them. In ATS, basically, we ensure that every stakeholder has its own experience there, and we want to make it very frictionless, right? If there's a lot of friction, then it will just get harder and harder for people to adopt. So you would have seen this is also part of those research activities which I did. A lot of people say that I need 2-3 months to onboard on an ATS. And like, it's not the job of a recruiter to get upskilled on an ATS how it works, right? It's the job of that ATS to make it easy enough for your recruiters to easily adopt, right? So these are some of the things I think that we are trying to solve with the experience, and efficiency and experience at the core is what we are solving basically.
Sure, sure. One point I definitely agree with you, Raj, because after running this community for almost like 4 or 5 months now, so what we have felt, the core team have felt that recruiter in general doesn't want to upskill themselves. Like as a core member, we are providing so much opportunity to them, like so much content to them, but
Correct.
hardly we see those kind of spark in the recruiters, right? And because
Correct.
we can't make you learn everything, right? It's you who have to upskill yourself. We can just provide you the content, provide you the material, guide you up, right? So
Correct.
definitely I would agree with you. And the other reason why we are also building this community is to upscale this recruiter uh, to transition from the traditional mindset to a trusted advisor, like what you have told.
Correct.
Certain works are
Correct.
not ours, we have to push back. And
Correct.
recruiters feel, or I don't know what they are so afraid of, they doesn't push back. We do agree that, and that's the reason we
Correct.
think we have to make this recruiter learn certain things so that they can become a trusted advisor. Great.
Correct.
Thanks for the candid answer, Raj. Yeah.
Correct, correct. On a side note there, I think in their defense, why they are not able to upskill is because of the same thing that they are busy in this coordination work, right? Recruiter is never free in those 8 hours, 10 hours what they're working, right? They're always
Yeah.
switching from spreadsheet to hiring managers, that to meeting, that to intro calls, that to sourcing, and so on, right? So that's the exact reason why you should invest in upskilling, right? Let's say there's a tool
Yes.
which is doing this a lot of screening and other things for free. Explore that tool, right? That is the motive of that tool, that it will save some of your time. But then yeah, it's like a deadlock, right? If you don't use that, you don't know it, and then you will always say I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy, and then you won't have time for yourself to actually work on that. And yeah, of course, on the upskilling part, as you mentioned, I think I like some of your sessions that you do, and of course your previous podcast as well. We also did, you attended our last webinar, right? We are also doing one more
Yes.
on
Yes.
August 25th. So that is the exact reason that recruiters need to actually understand that after this upskilling, something is going to come to you which you thought that this was not possible, right? That is the exact goal of that upskilling activity that you should invest in, right? So, but yeah, I think it's a tough problem. That's why we are here, but we are solving it in our own way.
Sure. So just related question, like definitely we know that AI is in the picture now, right? And AI is trying to solve each problem within recruitment as well. For example, uh, to create a JD, we have an AI. To screen a candidate, we have an AI, right? Who can talk to candidates and take interview as well, basic interviews, right? So
Correct.
in every aspect, we got AI. So do you think if recruiters doesn't upskill themselves, can they be replaceable? Because
Yeah, even
many recruiters still think that recruitment is not a replaceable job. So what do you
correct, correct.
think?
No, I very strongly believe that recruitment is here to stay. It's not going to like you can't have one AI do entire stakeholder coordination and other things, making sure negotiations happen the right way, candidate experience. Everything cannot be done with an AI. Even if it is done, then it has to be very optimal, but that is too far down the line right now. I don't see at least the Indian recruiters getting to that stage, because I can see that from the ATS adoption itself, that if a tool which is solving for them their time is not being utilized in the perfect sense, then is AI is slightly far than that, right? So that is one thing. In general, I think that AI would replace some of the things that recruiters do. As I said, even before AI, I used to say this, that technology won't replace talent acquisition jobs, but then if you're doing very mundane things, which is just, okay, get me the availability of panel and candidate, this is my day for like 40 candidates, that is most likely going to be replaced. And if not, I think it's already replaced. You don't see a lot of talent coordinator jobs right now, right? So
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
this is similar to that data entry thing that used to happen, let's say 10 years before, right? Now it's like, if you have a screenshot, you take that screenshot, put it in chat GPT, and it will give you that text. So it's like copy pastable text out of that image.
Yeah.
So then that job is no longer required, right? So similarly, a lot more other jobs would sort of come up. Of course, someone needs to oversee how AI is working, how to course correct it, how to implement the AI in their particular organization. And of course, I don't think AI would be able to do strategizing with the context that the organization have. So those are the things where your recruiters need to invest time in. That if you're coming up with these strategies, your AI can only give you that, okay, work on employer branding, work on some automation tools, but then how to implement your context is different, and so on and so forth. So that way, of course, it's not replaceable. But if your work is very mundane, if your work is very like every day you are doing the same thing again and again, some tool or some other person would replace you very soon. So that is the thing that I have for the AI with
Yes.
recruiters.
Yes. 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 So, what advice you would like to give to the recruiters, because they always are so busy with their work, they and because of that they forget to do some of the main thing, like for example attracting the right talent, and because of
Correct.
that there is lots of challenges to we get to hear from leaders that we are not getting right talent in the market,
Correct.
even though
Correct.
we have lots and lots of talent. Recruiters are not able to get the right talent. Like, what advice do you have for the recruiters here?
Yeah, I think it falls back to our previous discussion again. So I think personally, recruiters should focus on sourcing, strategizing, and evangelizing. These are the three things which are not very easily replaceable with AI, right? Anything else out of this is mostly a coordination kind of work, right? Of course, there's stakeholder management, talking to people, and other things in place. But then anything else, for example, let's say scheduling, for example, let's say screening candidates, let's say there are 1,000 candidates. We already have that. Reczee Screeno does that out of 1,000, we'll give you the top, let's say 100 candidates, all of these categorized with some specific tags and other things, right? So all of those activities are going to be replaced, if not already, right? But sourcing, strategizing, and evangelizing is something that is not easily replaceable, as well as not easily learnable as well, right? Someone cannot learn sourcing from tomorrow. Someone cannot learn strategizing if they have not been in the space. Someone cannot learn how to talk in a way where your employer branding increase, and so on and so forth, right? So focus on things which are not very shallow, and other things maybe leave it to a tool. If your management is not willing to put into this, try to be better in selling them that, okay, this is what the benefit of it is. Don't say that management is not listening to us, right? If they're not listening to us, most likely you have not made enough contributions for them to learn about what you have to say, right? So I think a lot of things, what happens is, like if you give them those benefits out of it, right? Let's say your positions are closing out after 45 days, and you say that if you bring this tool, it will come to 30 days. Of course, the management would listen to you, right? If these are the benefits that you're pitching to them, right? If you're pitching that, okay, we'll save our time, and it doesn't work that way, right? The management would not then listen to you that, okay, probably do it for 2 3 days, then 4 days, it's okay. But then you give them the business impact, right? That this is what is impacted on the business, and then probably that would work. But yeah, I think we'll see how the AI thing pans out. But yeah, recruitment is not going to go as a, like a lot of people pitch this AI recruiter or something like that. That is something that I strongly feel it wouldn't be like very widely adopted and no recruiter jobs would be available. All of those things I don't think would happen, is what I feel.
Yeah. And I think even the recruitment industry is a huge billion-dollar market size, right? Uh,
Correct.
I think yesterday or day before, I was just reading some article. It just showed that in 2024 itself, like currently the market size is somewhere around like approximately 900 billion market size. And let's say AI have taken some part of it. Still, there are lots of market size available for the recruiters to go ahead and lots of new technologies to adopt as well.
Correct. I'm not sure on the number, but yeah, I think as I said, right, that market size is probably based on how much the businesses can make out of it, but it does not
Yes.
incorporate how much of it can be done by a manual recruiter versus what the
Yeah.
business
Yeah.
can make.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think definitely makes sense.
Sure. So the next question I have here is like regarding the future of recruitment, right? How do you see the technology? Definitely AI we are talking about. How do you see technology impacting the future of recruitment plus overall the job market?
Correct, correct. No, I think it's a very interesting thing. A lot of software engineers are also worrying about their jobs because a lot of code is being written by AI now. But yeah, I see, at least for recruitment, I see it as a enabler and not a replacing of the entire function. Enabler in the way where they need to work more towards the meaningful work, and other mundane tasks needs to be optimized. And currently it's not very widely adopted, primarily because the cost of AI is slightly higher right now. But let's say someone is able to do all the scheduling and other thing with an AI product which is costing them, let's say, $10 a month for, let's say, some certain scale. So an organization would think, right, that should I pay $10 or should I pay a salary to a recruiter to do the same thing, right? So this would happen where your AI tools would get cheaper and cheaper. If
Yeah.
you're following OpenAI's pricing, it is dropping by the day. So that's the exact reason why it is dropping, right? Because they started with, let's say, $10 or $15. Now they are at $5 at like 1 million tokens and other things. So this would get cheaper and cheaper, and of course the use cases would also get more adopted based on that. In terms of how candidates get affected by this, the candidates who are applying for jobs in the recruitment industry, I think we are already seeing a lot of people getting annoyed by like the text written with AI, all the resume written with AI, and so on and so
Yeah.
forth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, right now I think you can still distinguish that this text is written by an AI, but at some point in time, this would also be like very well trained with your writing style, and you would have nothing to do, and you will actually write some text which is really matching your writing style and not actually looking like an AI. So yeah, all of those things are there. uh, AI interviewing is something which I am not very familiar with right now, or I'm not very sure how would that pan out, because a lot of candidates don't want to do like assignments, right? It's like a proxy of understanding how this would pan out. So if you just send out an assignment link saying that, okay, do this after a day and we'll call you after that. The same with interviews, right? Let's say you schedule a link and send them this link, and there's an AI talking to them. Probably candidate would think that if nobody is willing to talk to me, I would not want to interview for this company, right? So I'm sure a lot of companies would be struggling with this right now, right? So all of those things would pan out in a way where candidate experience also needs to be taken care of in this entire world of you bringing AI in your system. Does that candidate actually stick around with that efficiency, or the candidate is like, okay, this guy doesn't want to talk to us, probably let's just avoid this company altogether, right? So yeah, that is what we'll see how that pans out, if every candidate wants to go via an AI interview or not, and other things, right? But yeah, very interesting in general, because a lot of companies are solving like very pinpointed solutions, solving for pinpointed problems basically. But how that eventually, for an organization, it's like an ecosystem, right? You have to your platform needs to solve it, not your product needs to solve one scheduling problem, one screening problem, and so right. So yeah, that's an interesting thing that we'll
Great.
see how it pans out.
Great. So when you talk about assessment, definitely as a recruiter myself, right, we have always faced that candidate doesn't want to take assessment at all, right? Hardly
Correct.
few would love to take the assessment, right? But recently, I was in touch with one of the organization named called Talent Lama, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what this organization basically does is they, instead of like assessing the candidate, giving them the assignment, you can assess through JD. And I have tried to use their product as well, right? And I definitely found it very useful and kind of relevant as well. Even they are quite young, and they use
Mm-hmm.
this AI and other things for screening the candidate for the first time, right? So
Correct.
let's say we got certain amount of resumes, and uh, I tried to experiment in multiple different roles, and there are a couple of roles it have done fantastic job, and
Correct.
it has given some of the screening notes as well, and at last it have asked the experience, and candidate have really have given positive response that they, it
Correct.
was something new they have experienced, and the experience was quite nice what we have heard, right? The result also was kind of a positive, and the uh, time saved is definitely one of the thing I would say. So uh, still lots of things to come up, but again, like there are companies which are doing this interview scheduling and screening and other things as well, right? So
Correct,
I
correct.
just want
Yes, Reczee Screeno does the exact similar thing where like you have a job description, you have a resume and gives you that score, as well as you get more insights into that this person has worked in like a top company or a top institute. This person is an open source enthusiast and so on and so forth. Right. So screening is one of the things that definitely the recruiters who are doing those 8 second thing where people say that they reviewed for 8 seconds, if you think
yeah.
about it, that 8 second is most likely they are looking for that good company or they're looking for that good institute and then going forward, right? So then
Yeah.
it's a repeatable thing. Whenever you see a
Yeah.
repeatable use case, most likely a technology would replace it, right?
Yeah.
Unless there's some
Yeah.
more sort of thing, right? And here you can afford for some approximation, right? Let's say you are receiving 1,000 applications. A recruiter might have shortlisted 50 candidates, but your AI is giving 80 candidates. So might as
Yeah.
well use those 80, right? The idea is recruiter is going to 1,000 and then finding those 50, right? Probably go with those 80 that AI already recommended. Save your recruiter's time into reviewing these 1,000 manually and then go around it, right? But yeah, that's around the screening side of things.
So let's talk a little bit about your personal related question, right? So so let's say if you need to give some advice to your younger self, like what advice you would love to give about the tech industries and about the recruitment industry related?
Yeah, I think for tech at least I would recommend like I was not very like I see a lot of freshers right now exploring so many things in college itself, which I was not very good with. Like once I started Stop Stock, my grades also started falling because I was just focusing on that. So I would recommend myself also to work on multiple things. Of course, building a tool is one of the things. But yeah, like try to increase the breadth of things that you work upon basically, right? And not just in, let's say I don't expect a fresher to learn sales and marketing and other things during college, but then at least in tech also there are so many things to do. There's AI, there's backend, there's front end, there's DevOps, so on and so forth. So in college you cannot say I'm a Java developer, right? In college you cannot say I'm a Python or a React developer. In college you need to be like a software engineer, so you do everything basically. That's the point, right? Does your college teach you just Java? Does your college teach you just backend? College goal is basically give you the bread, see your inclination, and pursue that inclination basically. But yeah, that's the thing I would recommend, like entry level folks who are in tech basically.
Sure. So during your younger days, did you thought that you will be starting your own organization?
Yeah, to be honest, from Stop Stock, I was always sure कि I'll create a company and I'll have. I did. So for me, it's like a conviction thing, right? Let's say a lot of people ask me that, okay, let's say a Reczee doesn't work and you have to go back, and what other space would you build in, right? So I told that I would not say that, okay, I want to build a product on finance. Let's try to evaluate all the problems which are there in finance and then pick one, right? I'll have to have some conviction in an idea and only then I'll pursue. So I'd probably do a job rather than going into a random sector and then try solving
Okay.
a problem out of this. So yeah, I think everybody has a different opinion on that. But yeah, that's a bit about what I would do personally.
Sure. So, what are some of the passion outside of your work, and how do you maintain work-life balance?
Yeah, to be honest, work-life balance is hard as a founder. You cannot talk talk a lot about work-life balance as a founder. But yeah, I think I do try to take some breaks. I've recently started playing TT with my wife, uh, and few things here and there, traveling a bit more is what I do. But mostly in early stage sort of companies, you need to put that extra effort. You don't get to choose that, okay, I'll work for 4 days and 8 hours or 7 hours and other things. A lot of
Yeah,
things are there. Unless you have like a very big team who has taken care of most of the things, even that is the case, your early stage, you are figuring out so more growth opportunities, thinking on the like the growth of your sales or growth of your product line and so on and so forth. So it's just uh, so many things to do and your time is always less, so it doesn't work life balance is not for someone who wants to start a company. It's
totally agree. So,
yeah, yeah,
like, since you have worked with a good organization altogether, right? Definitely the package, the salary, and other things might be very good over there, right? And when you start
right,
an organization, it's you have to start from zero, right?
correct,
तो आपके
correct.
पास कोई क्वेश्चन था लाइक वेर यू प्लानिंग फ्रॉम लॉन्गर टाइम कि मैं स्टार्ट करूंगा तो उसके लिए अभी से थोड़ा सा सेव करके चलता हूँ लाइक व्हाट वाज योर थॉट प्रोसेस
Correct, correct. Yeah, I think this is the most underrated thing which is discussed very openly. I think a lot of people should openly talk about the finances that are there for startups, right? So, when you are planning to start your own startup, let's say you stop your salary, there's literally no money coming in your bank account. Like a lot of people think that, okay, in 2 months I'll get funding and I'll
या या
take
या
salary out of it, right? In general, I'll just take slightly more time to explain this. For
श्योर
my question, I of course did like 5 6 years of corporate, and as a software engineer, I had decent amount of savings, which can probably go for 2 years without any salary. So uh, because my expenses are also very low, I don't spend a lot of things on a lot of things, a lot of money on a lot of things. So that is one thing that you should have, at least your own savings. If not, let's say if you're married, or let's say if your family is very good to do and other things, I think that definitely helps, that there's not enough pressure in terms of the money making side of things. As soon as you have pressure, then you try to do like very quick hacks to get money, right?
या
Let's say you'll
या
start consulting, you'll start doing some very small things to get money out of things, right? But then you will get distracted also while working at your startup, right? You are
या
focus towards a scale problem, and then you will start thinking around very small money, and then you will try to optimize for that, right? So that is something that you have to plan, that how would and at least plan for 2 years, because uh, in my mind, when I left my job, it was like within 6 months I should have some money coming in. Only then I continue, else I'll stop my job, which did happen in a very small amount. It's like pizza, or two people pizza party kind of thing. But then that kept me going, right? Even without that, I would have
ओके
kept going. But then you have something in your mind, and you're starting it for the first time, you would know that you have some expectations out of this. But then assume that the money would not come in for 2 years. And if you have that much cushion, it would be very well for you to mentally work on this particular problem, right? Else you will either, whatever difficulty you will face after 6 months, you will start finding a job, right? So it's very hard to not talk about this finance thing. uh, of course, if you have a spouse who's working, that's a best thing that you can do, which was in my case as well. So that is one of the cushions that I have, apart from my savings as well. And now, of course, Reczee is also doing well, so there is some money coming in. Other thing that a lot of founders don't sort of account for is that even if your company starts making a lot of money, usually the founder does not withdraw salary from the company, right? Because you want to make it grow, you want to show profits, you want
Yeah.
to sort of get your revenue coming in, right? And you don't want to take very minimal salary if you have other sort of sources, right? And even after a funding, a lot of founders don't take, like, let's say, more than 5 lakhs salary or a 10 lakh salary kind of thing, right? Because you want to grow your organization. Your goal is not to earn a salary out of a startup, right? So a lot of
Yeah. Yeah.
founders who I talk to right now, they think that, okay, funding ho jayega, so I'll start withdrawing salary and work on this, which doesn't make sense, right? Investor also is not investing to pay your salary, right? Investor is investing to increase your growth potential of the startup in general, right?
Organization
So
is start.
yeah, some of the things around that, but yeah, do plan your finances before you stop working. That's the biggest takeaway.
So, what I was asking you is like, while I was talking to lots of TA folks, there are many TA folks, even who wanted to become a founder or who wanted to become a startup, start their own company or so, right? So, what is the first step for them to do that? Like, is it the idea should like solve some kind of problem they individually have faced, or it is in general some idea which they are trying to solve? Like, what is the in general process, Raj?
Correct. Correct. Yeah, I think that's a great question. I would like to share my thoughts on that. In this, basically, your first thing should be that, uh, see, ideas are not something very unique nowadays. Like, if you come up
Yes.
with an idea in the night, and if you Google search about it, there would be like 10 companies already building something around that, right? So, don't try to wait for that one idea which will change the world and which will do a lot of funding and a lot of revenue, and you'll get profitable and other things. Don't wait for the idea. Search for problem statements, I would recommend, right? So if you are in recruitment, I think you already should have a lot of problems, if not in other sector. But yeah, I think start with some problems. And this is, I'm talking without leaving the job. All of these things you can do it with your job. With your
Okay.
job, you need to find the problem statements either you are facing, or if you are working in some other sector, let's say you want to start a startup in finance sector. So either you have your own experience or you need to do some research. This is the part
Okay.
which I was telling you, the 150 recruiters, talking to them. This I did
Yeah.
after leaving the job, which I thought could have been done when I was with my previous organization, right? Because it's just weekend, we spend half an hour, try to talk to
Uh,
people,
uh,
try to
uh,
understand if this is an actual pain point. A lot of times, what happens is the founder has some version of the problem which is not actually the ground reality, right?
yeah.
So
Yeah.
uh, you don't want to start and then realize, okay, this was not a problem, and then again go back to job and other things, right? These are some of the things that you can do while you are in the uh, job that you have. Another recommendation would be create a MVP, is a very standard term, minimum viable product. This is like your prototype kind of thing, right? That, okay, uh, this is my problem statement. This is how I think a solution would work. Of course, validate that solution with the people that you have already talked to. And all of this while you are working somewhere, probably spend your weekends, spend your nights working on this, and probably hire some interns who can help you build this prototype in case you're not a techie. But yeah, I think a lot of groundwork can be done while you are at a job, and post that you can do it. So there's no sort of pressure of you making money from day one, right?
Yeah.
After that, of course, you'll have to, I don't think you can build a company while you are working somewhere, because it just takes a lot of your time, right? So if you have to spend
That's true.
8 hours on your new problem, uh, you would not get that while working somewhere, right? So that you'll have, of course, need to leave a job, but now you are sort of making sure that you have some direction where you are going, right? Starting the research after leaving the job is something that I would not recommend doing, right?
Sure. Sure.
So yeah, I think
And like,
that,
many people talk about funding and other things as well. So, what is the right time to approach any kind of investor?
yeah, to be honest, there's no right time. I have not raised funds. I'm bootstrapped, so I'm probably the wrong person to answer this question. But yeah, I think it depends on the sector that you are operating in. What is the capital requirements? what is your plan, when do you want to raise. So a lot of people also raise at an idea stage, that okay, we have this idea, we have this solution, we have talked to 50 people and they think this would work. A lot of VCs do it, but then after this market crashed and other things, a lot of VCs are now looking for more traction before even doing that idea stage investment, right?
Yeah.
So ideally, you should have something working, something in your favor. Let's say number of users, some engagement, some revenue in case you already start making revenue. That is a good time to actually reach out to a VC, because it's just in your favor to get favorable terms and probably get funded also. Now, I haven't seen a lot of VCs just investing on idea stage, right? Of course, there are some accelerators which do that, but then like if you're going with a proper VC, and angels, anyways, I don't think they would just trust you and give you money at an idea stage, right?
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
course, if you have like a good relationship before they know you and they want to invest, that's a different story. But then yeah, I think when you have some traction is what you should probably target at that time. A lot of times what happens is, if you are hiring, let's say you are creating a new Swiggy or a Zomato, of course then you will need money, right? So then you will have to reach out to VCs. You'll have to show them why you are different from Swiggy, what would you do differently. Then you can get that money, and then you can invest in those drivers and your dark stores and whatever you want to implement, right? So it depends on the sector. There's no one ideal way to do it, basically.
Sure. So what plan you have for Reczee?
Yeah, I think now we have a couple of things cooking. I don't want to say it out loud right now, but at least join the webinar on August 25th is one thing. And of course, what we are trying to build is an ecosystem of recruitment products. We don't want to be like a pinpointed solution kind of thing. We don't want to just create, let's say, a Calendly kind of tool right now. So we want to create an ecosystem which works very well with each other, as well as a recruiter can manage all their activities in a single place, right? So, and of course, we don't want just the recruiter to log in. We want everyone to log in and do their experiences. So we have an experience for the hiring manager, for the panel, for the agency, for the candidate. And that's how we want to see the future of recruitment, where this tool is something that is like a bread and butter for recruitment, right? It should not look like that, okay, just for screening, I'll go to this tool. It should be like how Excel is for finance folks, this is what is for recruitment.
But since we are talking about Reczee, right? Like, are you working alone, or you already have your founders, co-founders, and the team working with you currently,
Yeah,
Raj?
I don't have other co-founders. I'm a solo founder, but I do have a team which is helping with multiple things right now.
Like, I might have asked this question earlier as well, but still wanted to know a little bit more. Like, when someone was like working with a very good job, like there might be something happening in his or her life, so that he or she have taken that particular risk to start their own organization, right? तो आपके मामले में क्या था कि क्या रिस्क क्यों लिया रिस्क कि मुझे ये करना ही है, मतलब क्या चल रहा था दिमाग में?
Yeah, I think, as I said, right, I always wanted to create my own organization, but until I find something which I have conviction in, I didn't want to start. Let's say I work for 5 years, right? So if I had to always start, I could have started after 1 year, right? So that is one thing which I would recommend a lot of candidates in their college start companies. They do open up good companies as well, but then a lot of times what happens is you don't have enough experience in the industry to understand a lot of things, right? For example, in college, I didn't know what customer success is, right? Until I worked on B2B sort of softwares and work on those aspects, right? So I would recommend get some experience. That was one of the things. For Reczee in particular, since I was very like inclined towards solving this inefficiency of managing a lot of things on Excel, managing a lot of things on, even if you are using an ATS, if you are still using spreadsheets, you are simply paying your ATS. You should not be paying an ATS if you are doing Excel. You can manage
Yeah,
everything
yeah,
on
yeah.
Excel. I'm the biggest fan of spreadsheets because I do a lot of things on spreadsheets. But I just feel that recruitment is not supposed to be done on spreadsheets. But you can still do it if you are anyways using an ATS and then still using spreadsheet. It's your problem, right? It's you are not utilizing the product properly, or the product itself is not correct for you, right? So that is one of the things which I always was looking for, that if I find a conviction in something, I would probably start, and sooner the better is what I wanted to think that time, that if I have more and more responsibilities down the line, it would get harder and harder. So I thought, let's give it a try.
Sure.
Right.
And being a startup founder, right? Sometimes it might be very challenging. Sometimes it might be very stressful as well, right? So, क्या करते हो आप अपने stress out करने के लिए? Like, what you'd love to do? Like,
Uh,
do you share those things with someone, your partner, or you have friends, like, or you play something?
Yeah, I think one thing that is another learning after starting my journey is like every stress is going to get smaller and smaller as you go forward, right? So, sorry, I am not articulating that well, but then the idea is that if you're stressed about something today, after 6 months, you should feel like, oh, that stress was nothing compared to what I'm facing right now. So that's
Yes.
the sign of growth as well. But yeah, what I do to deal with stress is, of course, I talk to my wife, as well as uh, I'm a person who gets very tactical very soon. So I start something else which takes my mind off this. So that helps me in like not thinking too much about a specific thing, right? So that is one thing. Of course, there are other entertainment kind of things which I do. I don't know if I do it when I'm stressed. I don't actually feel like doing something entertainment kind of things, but yeah. That's a few things that help me cope up. But yeah, everyone has their different, like even before starting a company, you would have stress in your life. So however you deal, you continue doing that. But think that this is not a lot of times what happens is when you're working somewhere, you always have your manager who's going to pick up your stuff that you didn't do, right? So that's the benefit that you have while working at a job, right? But in as a founder, if your employee doesn't do something, you have to do it. If you don't do something, you only have to do it. There's no one else to do it. so, so
That's true. That's true.
yeah, so
And
get used to that
like,
stress.
how important families do play role uh, in a life of a founder, like कितना मैटर करता है फैमिली, लाइक क्योंकि डेफिनेटली यू हैव योर पेरेंट्स हु आर देयर इन सम अदर पार्ट ऑफ कंट्री, देन यू हैव योर वाइफ अलोंग विद, तो वहां पे भी कुछ ना कुछ चलता रहता है, लाइक क्या रोल प्ले करता है एक फाउंडर की लाइफ में?
Yeah, I think family is very important because, like, if that is one of the battle that you don't want to fight because you already have a lot of battles, right? So you don't want your family also not supporting, and then your startup also not working, and then all of those things playing together, right? So that is the biggest thing, right? Finances, as I said, right? I'm not withdrawing salary right now, so. Uh, if your family is not okay with that, then you have to start using up your savings, and then you will have to have like hard conversations and other things. In general, your family, if they are not supportive of spending this much time without salary, let's say I'm already 2.5 years into the thing, right? So it should not, your family should not feel like this is a wrong step in your career, right? So if that is something that you can get from your family, that's the best feeling basically, right? If not, of course, you'll have some convincing and other things to do. But then, yeah, I think family is very important. Making sure that they also believe what you're trying to do. They believe in yourself as well, that you would be able to do something like this is very important. If you can uh, get some sort of inclination from them as well, it would just take off some of the stress that you have in your daily activities, basically, right?
Okay, so the reason why I'm asking you this question is because uh, I stay with my wife and my 1.5 year old kid, right? While building a
Correct.
community, it also takes similar amount of time building an
Definitely.
organization or a company, right? So, and sometimes I get very stressed along with the work, along with the community. Sometimes it takes
Correct.
lots and lots of time. And since I have a younger kid, I have to take time out of that as well. So,
Yeah.
and I try to go to my wife and I try to share my thoughts out, and sometimes it's very uh, what to say, like I don't have the rights word कि exhausting हो जाता है सब कुछ करके ना, फिर लगता है कि
Correct.
क्या कर रहा हूँ, क्यों कर रहा हूँ. So again, those thought come to picture and all.
Yeah, I think I also have similar sort of stories. Of course, you will have to compromise somewhere. You would also have to prioritize their well-being, their sort of priorities as well, instead of just working on your startup. But yeah, I think it's also sort of a negotiation at every point in time. So that you anyways have to learn in your startup environment.
Yeah,
So might as well try with your family first. Uh, I
true.
hope she's not listening.
No, no, not right now. But currently she's supportive. But again, like most of the time, she do understand. But again, like sometimes kids, right? Like when kids are growing, they take hell lot of time and like
Correct. Yeah, yeah. I think it's a hard journey. More power to you, and definitely, I think you're already doing some good work there.
sure. With interest of time, I just have two last question, Raj. So one
Yeah,
is like you have mentioned that you are a dosa fan and growing up in
yeah.
Gandhinagar. What can you share a favorite food memory of yours or a story behind from your
Favorite
hometown?
food. From my hometown, I think dosa. Yesterday only, I think we went to some of my wife's friends. They are based out of Bangalore, so they could not think of dosa being eaten in like dinner. And in Gandhinagar, it's like a dish, like it's a proper special dish that needs to be cooked, and it is usually in dinner time, right? So that
Okay.
used to be the thing. And when I was in Mumbai, almost 70 to 80% of my dinners were dosa. So people do ask me that, can you actually get bored of this or not? I was like, no, I cannot. In Bangalore also, I'm a like a good fan, so I keep doing every week at least once or twice. We try to make for a dosa place there as well. But yeah, that is one of the things that I need to reduce because of all the oil and other things. But then
Yes.
uh, you can't. as of now.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah,
Great. Thanks for sharing that, Raj. Last question. So yesterday we were trying to ask a couple of questions in our one of the session called Ask Me Anything session, where we try to ask different like ask our recruiters that what is one of the problem uh, they are trying to solve and all those things. Like so one thing what they told is like candidate experience, right? And like some of them have responded in terms of giving feedback to the candidates, right? So
correct,
similarly, we have heard lots and lots about talent acquisition being ghosting from the
correct,
candidates, right? When
correct.
we try to ask this question to our recruiter friend, like most of the positive response we have got, but still we see lots of people doing candidate ghosting. Like, what do you think about candidate ghosting, and how do you think recruiters should behave uh, in this work environment?
Yeah, I think ghosting is a very big problem in general in recruitment, in anything actually. Let's say we reach out for sales to outbound sales with multiple stakeholders. We are talking to someone, probably we also did a demo call. After that, they stop replying, right? So it's also a personal trait of person, right? That keep them updated. If you're not interested, say we are not interested, or we'll come back after some time and so on, right? So it's a personal trait that does the recruiter actually want to do this? Once they decide that they want to give that good candidate experience, use an ATS, right? ATS is a must for anyone who wants to give a good candidate experience. I'll tell you why. Let's say very basic emails, right? Let's say introduction email that, okay, we have received your application. We'll be sort of reaching out to you within a couple of days. Then let's say you rejected a candidate, your panel filled some feedback and you rejected a candidate. If your ATS does not support like sending emails very quickly, the recruiter is not motivated enough because they'll context switch to something else because they're doing multiple things, right? I'm completely sympathizing with the recruiter because uh, you cannot expect recruiters to have 30 hours in a day, right? Because they are also human beings, they also need to do something. So this is where the recruiters need to understand that out of whatever 8-10 hours they work, what is their most amount of time taking activity and can that be offloaded to a tool or someone else basically, right? So if you have enough time, then you can think about these things. And usually if you bring in an ATS in your system, half your work that you're doing in juggling and other things with spreadsheets and forms and emails and WhatsApp and so on would just go away, because everything is visible. Your organization stakeholders are putting everything there. You are clear on the status of the candidate application. What would happen a lot of times is, oh, my panel had sent me feedback, I don't remember where it is. Probably it was an email, probably it was on WhatsApp, probably they came to my desk and told me, but I don't have a way of saying this. So then if you don't have that feedback captured, how would you write an email saying that, okay, this is why we rejected you, right?
Yeah.
Even if you want to give like one pointer, it's not captured, right? So this is one of the things. Of course, if you have to manually send the email from a Gmail provider, you'll have to open Gmail, copy paste that email. You'll find that email template from somewhere, then write that. It's just too much work for one candidate, right? If you are dealing with 1,000 candidates, if you're not using an ATS, it's just not possible for the recruiter to actually humanely give good feedback to candidates that they have interviewed, right? So that is one of the things. I think apart from the tactical things, the first step is most important. The recruiter themselves need to understand that giving the good candidate experience is going to compound in the future. It might be
Yeah.
that candidate themselves might refer someone else, right? That does not sort of happen if you don't give them anything, right? If you interviewed a candidate and you're just ghosting, you're not replying to their messages, you're not calling. And yeah, I think there was one more post on LinkedIn where I think it was from Victor. What he mentioned was that the recruiters themselves uh, don't feel comfortable talking this rejection to them, the candidates. This is the exact thing that AI cannot do. This is the exact thing that you are supposed to do. This is the exact thing which will make you irreplaceable when, let's say, you send out a NPS survey to all your candidates saying that how was your recruitment experience. What do you
Experience.
think the candidate will feel if you ghosted them, right? So that is the exact thing that you need to actually uh, prioritize on. And then once you have made up your mind that, okay, from now on, every candidate which I interview, I'll make sure that I share that update, even if it's a rejection, even if it's a hold kind of decision. Either from my ATS, I'll send them an email, either I'll do a WhatsApp, either I do a call, but I'll make sure that every candidates get this, right? So apart from that, I think bring in an ATS, it will solve your half the things that you're doing manually. You should not be doing manually.
Sure. With this, Raj, thank you so much. It was lovely talking to you. It was interesting discussion altogether, learning about your past, learning what you are trying to solve currently. But looking forward to learn more about Reczee in future call. Probably we can find out sometime what exactly Reczee is. We can try to do some kind of demo as well, so that like you can showcase some of the things, how it can help a recruiter to utilize their term much effectively, right? But
Definitely.
overall, thank you for your time, and thank you for sharing insights about your life.
Yeah,
Looking forward
definitely.
for
Thanks a
more
lot,
conversation.
Prafula, for inviting me to the podcast. And it was really great. I think it has been some time since I was on a podcast last. I'm also doing a podcast, hopefully this year sometime. We did one season last year, but we had to stop because it was taking too much of my time
Too
that time.
much.
But yeah, we are now sort of streamlining some of the things. But then would love to share anything else in the community. If you think there's any other way in which I can contribute, would love to be part of it. Uh, and yeah, of course, we'll do one more session in case we can do a demo session or something like that with the community.
Sure,
Yeah,
we'll love
sounds
to,
good.
Raj, because I think you are doing something great, and definitely the TA community should know what you are trying to do, right? And
Yeah,
looking forward for
definitely.
that session.
Definitely. Sounds good. All right. Thanks a lot, Prafula.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.